Have you ever reconnected with an old friend, only to be horrified of who they've became? A few years back, I met up with an old friend to find out that he only wanted to hang out so he could pitch a pyramid scheme to me. Fuck you, dude. Same shit with me. It was a going to party thing. She drove and picked me up cause I had no idea where it was. Turns out it was all an elaborate plan, so I would be forced to stay for the whole meeting sales pitch thing since she was my ride out of there. I had the same thing happen to me. Guy I used to smoke with calls me up, tells me to dress nice. I arrive and it's one of those direct marketing things and they want me to pay them $300 for the privilege of conning other people into doing the same thing. I got a phone call 2 days ago from someone I've known for 20 years. We haven't spoken 10. He called me to tell me he has prostate cancer and has around 2 weeks left. He wanted my shipping address so he could send me his most personal items. He refused treatment and isn't telling his family. They live across the country. I'm the only person he has told. So yeah, horrifying doesn't even come close to this. Not so much reconnected as ran into in passing, but yeah. During my teenage years, my best friend was a guy named Bob. Bob and I were skater kids back in the mid-90s, which wasn't very common in my area. We weren't outcasts or anything. We both played sports, but we definitely didn't fit the Abercrombie mold that most of our peers were in. We drifted apart when we graduated. He delved deeper into drugs and we just kind of lost contact. I'm 31 now, and so is Bob. My wife and I were feeling all kinds of lazy on a Friday afternoon. Our kid was with my mom for the night, so we decided to change into our pajamas at 6 p.m, order food in, and basically lounge around doing diddly squat all evening. Sometimes it's the little things, guys. Anyway, I call up my local pizza joint and order a couple medium pies, since my wife likes that cardboard thin crust shit with white sauce and I actually like pizza. To each their own, except when it comes to pizza. We are doing our best sloth impressions on the couch in the living room, catching up on Mad Men and Breaking Bad. Don't spoil them, I'm still behind. When the doorbell rings, my wife restrains the 35-pound ball of fluff we call a dog, and I head to the door with the cash in my hand for the pizza guy. I open the door, when lo and behold there's Bob. Now, Bob was always slender, but he never looked sickly as a kid. When I opened my door I didn't recognize him. He had pock marks on his face, his hair was long and greasy, he looked frail and unhealthy. $20.50, right? Here's $25. All you bud, I said as I extended my hand for the pies. Optical delusions? Optical delusions last name? He choked out in a gravely voice that shouldn't come out of a 30-year-old. Yeah, sorry man, do I know, holy shit Bob. The realization hit me like a bug hitting a windshield. This used to be one of my best friends. And now he looks like a fucking meth addict. Yeah man, how you been? He wheezed, each word slurred and sputtered out, as if he'd forgotten how to speak, his lips barely moving, his mouth slightly agape, slack-jawed. He picked at one of the pockmark scabs while he waited for me to answer. Good. I'm married, wife, had a daughter in October. Things are pretty good man. How about you? I instantly regretted asking, but common social courtesy had taken over, and I didn't feel like I was talking to a friend, but a stranger in a friend's abused, deteriorating frame. Not too bad, still living with pops in city we grew up in, just working and chillin'. No. His voice was cracking, the words seemed forced, and completely devoid of emotion, as if he was answering the cashier at the grocer when asked, "Did you find everything?" That's cool, man. I swear it took me 5 minutes to get that sentence out, or at least it felt like it. Hell, it felt like 5 eternities. Here I am, in my big ol' house in the burbs with a pretty wife and an amazing baby girl and 2 cars and a dog, living the snapshot of the American dream. And here is living proof of how my life cold turned out if I decided to keep doing coke and X. Not horrified, but I recently reconnected with a childhood friend who, from what I remember, was a nerdy fat kid with minor Asperger's. I reconnected at the age of 18, and he is now nerdy, ripped, 6'4" monster of man with a Klingon badlith on the wall, and every Star Trek action figure mint in box, signed by the actor who played them. 2 years after we broke up, An ex contacted me out of the blue, and we decided to hang out. While dating we'd talked a lot about dropping out of high school and getting our jets so we could go to college early. I never did either one, and he decided it'd be a good plan to drop out but never get his jet. He was playing the Yu-Gi-Oh card game pretty much full time. This was a while ago, and living off of his mom. He was living in this shit apartment full of garbage with a friend, his girlfriend, and her baby. I ran for the hills. Yes, I had a friend in high school that was as normal as can be. Met him at our high school reunion, and within 5 minutes of chatting he starts spewing these BS government conspiracy theories regarding 9/11 and the Boston bombing. He even pulled out a dollar bill and tried showing hidden messages. Dude turned into a loon. I had a best friend from 7th grade on. We were inseparable, had matching tattoos, bought a mini school bus together, painted it green. She lived with my grandparents for a while in high school because her mom threw her out. Right before I went to college she started using drugs, and naturally, I was worried/devastated. I was also a prude back then, but then again, crack is never cool. I went to a bar for my 21st birthday in my hometown because I'm born around Christmas, and it was winter break. Unfortunately, none of my other friends were 21 at the time, so I was just kind of sitting at the bar drinking Bay Breezes with my mom. I decided to call my old friend up. When she showed up she was so burnt out that she could hardly form a sentence. She was really fucked up on something too. I remember feeling like someone punched me in the gut. I still miss her. That sounds a lot like my best friend from 7th grade. She lived with me off and on over a year or two because her parents sucked. She was one of the sweetest people you could ever meet. Until she started acting differently to appeal to these loser meth head guys. My family continued trying to give her some sense of normalcy, feeding her home cooked meals. She had never eaten homemade food or sat at a table to eat with family, and her parents lived together but never spoke to each other at all, driving her to school. Otherwise she just wouldn't have gone, but she would still sneak out and disappear for days at a time. She eventually kind of abandoned us and started living with one of her trashy friends whose parents would let them do whatever they wanted. We lost touch. I've tried reaching out to her, inviting her to my new place to visit my girlfriend, and she's not interested. All she seems to care about is getting fucked up. It still makes me pretty sad sometimes, thinking of what she could have been. After going away to college and coming back to my hometown, I was horrified to find out that my best friend turned into a neo-Nazi/KKK guy. This is the same guy that I would have dinner at his house. Mom and dad loved me, and even his nephew. He had gone to the extreme by getting Nazi tattoos and even wearing racist shirts. He still was very nice to me and invited me over where he was proudly displaying his rebel flag, tats, Nazi symbols. It was hard for me to think this was my friend who would pick me up every day for school and drop me off. By the way, I'm a black female. I still somewhat talk to his sister and parents. I found out that an individual whom I played sports with, many times giving me rides to practice and games, was running a near multiple year-long internet scam. They posed as a parent whose child had cancer, using pictures they stole from other people and their children around the internet. The scam ended up gaining scores of supporters and went so far as selling personalized wristbands with the child's "Remember the child is not real" name on it. They are now under investigation for possible money laundering. However, it is not proven that they did or did not. This scam was so large that there are multiple large news groups that picked up and reported the story, which is how I found out. My mind is still blown from my discovery. I'm that friend. My life went to shit after high school. Everyone reconnects with me. They see how bad a hole I'm in, and they just bail and never talk to me after that. I went to a 25-year elementary school reunion where I found out that a guy in my class was now the principal of middle school. He was well respected, well liked, and doing a great job. I was very impressed. Back in grammar school he was the crazy kid in class who could never sit still, was always getting in trouble, and was barely passing his classes. After 10 years on the job, while still principal, it comes out that he never should have gotten the job as he had no prior experience or training or degree in that. Even if he had all of the right certifications, his arrests, convictions, and jail time would have made him ineligible. This didn't come into play because he forged his fingerprints while applying for the position. All of this finally came out because he was arrested for statutory rape. Seems he had sex with an underage high school student he met online. The kid recognized him as his middle school principal and told his friend about it. His friend told his parents and the parents went to school officials. The kid was 16 and the principal was 44. The case is pending.